Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves when things wrap up. Frank, how are you today?
My name is Frank Ramblings. For 8 years, I've watched this television show and waited for it to wrap up. And finally, it did.
Wow. Were you waiting for Arrow to wrap, like, from the pilot episode? That's what it kind of sounded like. You were like,
Yeah, so is it over yet? No? Okay, cool.
Why am I
Another
still
season
watching
renewal?
this?
Come on. When's it going to be over?
Oh, man. That's twist of fate.
Weird. But finally, I got my revenge.
Again.
Finally.
Yeah, if you didn't reach Smallville numbers, I die happy.
That's funny. Imagine if that was like keeping me up at night.
I know. You're like, oh gosh, what if it reaches 10 seasons?
Yeah. Then what will I do?
What
This
will
has such an
Smallville
impact on my
have
life.
after that?
Oh man,
It's remaining legacy.
what's left? How you doing, bud?
I'm good. I'm a bit under the weather, so I'm not drinking a beer because,
Okay.
as we know, alcohol compromises the immune system.
For
so
sure.
that would not be good in full recovery.
That's true. That's fair. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're not feeling your best.
Thank you.
But I've selected a beer. I'm gonna have a beer. I hope that's okay.
fine. You enjoy it. Your immune system is in full swing right now, and maybe
yeah.
mine will be again too.
You know what? I have a feeling it will be one day. But I did select a beer that I think will pique your interest. I actually told you about this one a few days ago. But this is Southern Tier. Southern Tier makes one of my favorite Halloween beer, Pumpkin. But Southern Tier also makes this, I hadn't seen this before, Nitro Hot Cocoa Imperial Milk Stout.
Oh, yeah, you sent a picture of this. I am so curious. I'm glad you're drinking this on the podcast. So, sounds like
ASMR.
the cocoa is bubbling on the
let's,
stove or something. Ooh, it looks like cocoa. It looks thick. Like,
it is a milk stout, so.
yeah, but like more than milk stout thick.
Well,
like
it's
milkshake
nitro.
thick.
It's nitro.
Oh,
So
that's it.
why.
Mhm.
Because instead of
That's
CO2 bubbles, instead of carbon dioxide bubbles, they're nitrogen bubbles, which are tiny, silky, smooth. Like, that's like what Guinness does. Like, it's like the really silky bubbles that are, it's thick like a.
smooth.
I mean, look at that head on that beer. Mm-mm.
That's got a nice head right there. Nice head of hair.
So I'm going to take I'm sensitive about that. So I'm going to take a sip.
He's taking a sip. He's checking it twice.
Okay, that does taste like chocolate. Wow, that is
Really?
like that is like a cocoa. So ale with cocoa powder and natural chocolate and marshmallow flavors added,
Wow.
and that is definitely what I'm getting.
What company is this?
This is Southern Tier.
Southern Tier.
Southern Tier. I'm actually not sure where they're based out of, but Lakewood, New York. Lakewood, New York. I really enjoy the Pumpkin. That is one of my favorite. That's my favorite like pumpkin beer easily. And
Pumpkin is excellent.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is excellent. Yeah.
And
wow.
this,
I'm gonna try. When I'm feeling above the weather, Frank, I am gonna try one of those. I'm gonna try one of those beers. Why is it under the weather? Aren't we always under the weather?
Right?
Because the clouds are above us.
I don't want to use a lookup on this personally, but I am really curious about it.
I'm always under the weather. That's why I'm on the ground. Unless I'm in an airplane and we're flying above the clouds, because then we are over the weather.
Above the weather, right.
We're above it. Mm-hmm. was crazy. It's so interesting. Frank, know what I am? No, I can't connect that. There's no segue here. Frank, Arrow.
You know what? I'm over Arrow.
No, why? Because it's over. Nope, I can't do it. I can't connect it. Anyway, Arrow wrapped up its half season, season 8, and it's the end of an era, the beginning of the DC TV universe, the Arrowverse, whatever you'd like to call it, and it finalized itself. Stephen Amell was like, after season 7, he was like, no, I really don't want to come back anymore. And they were like, what about half a season and money? And he was like, all right.
Now you're speaking my language.
All right, he's speaking my language. And he was very upfront about that. He's like, I honestly came back for the money. He's like, and I had a good time doing it. Like, don't get me wrong. I had a great time. I loved working on Arrow, like, obviously. But I did come back for the money.
He did. He wants to spend more time with his family, and the thing that made
God
it
forbid.
worth yeah, I know, right? The thing that made it worth not spending the time with his family was well, it's only gonna be half a season, so that's more time with your family and more money. And he was like, well, it'd be irresponsible of me to not take more money for my family. But now he is doing another show.
He's doing a wrestling show for Showtime.
Yeah.
Very
but I
interesting.
guess those are short seasons, and
It's only 8 episodes, I think. So only 8, which is much different than 22 headlining the show. 8 episodes, that's like, you could take a vacation the rest of the year if you had to. But 22, that's pretty much their whole year.
Oh, yeah.
It's like being in school, and then you got a couple months, and then you're back in it. But but people tend to not think about the work that they put into these shows, and it's like you're talking 10, 12-hour days, and it's not like you're 8 to 8, or something like that. You're really like
you're shooting
8
weird
to
hours.
midnight. Yeah, right. Because if you're shooting in Vancouver, and especially Arrow, it's all night work.
It's all night.
It's all heroes don't come out. Green Arrow does not come out during the day in this iteration. So it's very time consuming, very tiring. And so I give him credit for coming back for the half, even for the money, but really like running home with it. I really enjoyed season 8 quite tremendously. It actually, I think it was one of their best in a long time.
I have to completely agree. We've done like pulse checks, like just about every season. I mean, since we started Beer with Geeks, they were already in season 3 or something at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So since that time, we've done like every season or every half season, even sort of check-ins of like, all right, what's the state of the Arrowverse and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been, I'm actually, I would like to go back and listen to what we've said over the years, but I feel like I've been very up and down, off and down, on this show more than the others. It's admittedly not my absolute favorite of the bunch, but I really enjoyed seasons 7 and 8. Way more than I enjoyed, like 5 or 6. I think it kind of, I really started to lose steam there for a bit, and I really came back in season 7 and 8.
I dipped after season 5. I've always watched it consistently, but I liked 1. I loved 2. I really liked 3. So if you do it by the villains, easier if you do it by the villains.
Yeah,
right?
that's easier for me too.
So season 1 is Merlin, the Dark Archer, the Notebook, the whole 9 yards. Travers was the guy on the island?
I don't,
because it's always
names,
the mixed. Man. It's always the mixed narrative, right? It's his time away and his time in the city.
Well, he was still on the island season 1 in the flashbacks.
That's right. So he's on the island for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
on Lian Yu. So anyway, so it's Travers and Merlin. I liked season 1 a lot. I didn't, as I usually don't, love the episodic, like, and we got the next bad guy, cross his name off the list.
Right. Yeah, I always forget that was like the mechanism for the show at the beginning.
Yeah. I think it worked for starting the show, but it's just bonkers to think this is the show that was like trying to get away from Smallville, right? Like, and they were like, not the super heroic style, like it's gritty, down to earth, whatever. And then by season 8, he's the Spectre.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Isn't that so funny? I know. I mean, kind of Smallville did the same thing where it was like, no, it's very grounded, no tights, no flights, it's all going to be very. And then by season 10, we're talking Checkmate, and we've had the Justice League, and we've had, all the
Darkseid,
Justice Society and Darkseid and Doomsday and all this stuff has happened. Like they always try, like, we're gonna be very grounded, and by the end it's like, but the fans like this stuff, so we're gonna do it.
Right, and those ends up being some of their best stuff.
That's when it gets good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although, but I do think, really though, I think season 1 is very strong.
I agree. Season 1's very strong.
in what it offers. And Merlin was a great villain. John Barrowman made such an impact. He just kept coming back, like over and over and over again. Sometimes to the detriment of the show. Sometimes they had a hard time letting go of actors they liked, and so by keeping them around, you don't have anything to really do with them, and so that's when it starts to get a little wayward. But that was season 1. Season 2 was Deathstroke.
Yeah. I liked that season, but I liked it better later. I stopped watching the show in like season 2. I was just sort of like when I was watching it not live every week, but like I was keeping up with it every week throughout season 1 and then into season 2, and then I just sort of petered out for a bit. And then a couple of years later, I was like, all right, let me catch back up. This is probably in season 3 or 4. I caught back up and have been watching it consistently ever since. But it was season 2 where, like, at the time I was sort of like, whatever. This isn't filling the Smallville shaped hole in my heart. Like, this isn't doing it for me. So I dropped. But then when I picked it back up later, a couple years later, I had more appreciation for season 2.
I really like season 2, but I really like Deathstroke. And I liked the brother blood twist. People forget that he was even in there, I think.
That's right.
And there was the girl from Terminator, Summer Glau. No.
Oh.
Yeah, Summer Glau.
Yeah, right, because she did that there was that arc. Wow, I completely forgot about Summer Glau being on this show. Yeah, there was that arc where she was she was like a Queen Consolidated rival or something, right? She was like from another
something
tech,
like that.
She was like from not from Palmer Tech, but some other like company of that stature, let's say. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, there was something like that. I don't remember exactly what the
But that was fun. Like that was a different time. It was like 2013 or something. That was
a different time. That was still when they were like, well, Deathstroke, he takes the Mirakuru.
The Mirakuru was like a big thing still.
Yeah,
they still make references to Mirakuru to this. Like in the finale, there was a Mirakuru reference. Like that never left. That left its impact. But yeah, wow, that was such a big thing. That was like an ongoing plot point for so long.
Yep, and they remember the Amazo was a boat. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Man,
wow,
what a time.
Yeah,
what
right. What a time. I mean, this is only a year after. Like this show only premiered a year after Smallville ended.
That is correct.
But it's like such a different. It feels like a different time period.
I know, but it's 8 years. That's it's almost a decade of difference. It's crazy. And then in season 2 is where Barry Allen guested, right?
Yeah, that's what they had like the backdoor Flash pilot.
The backdoor, yeah, that's right. Because it ends with him getting struck by lightning.
Right.
To be like, oh, are people interested in the Flash? Maybe.
Right. And then in season 3 of Arrow was when Flash premiered.
That is correct, because they had their first crossover where it was just the two of them, and they fought Captain Boomerang.
Yes, and I think I watched that at your house.
Really?
I think I. Oh no! It was the next one with the Hawks.
Oh, okay. That was the Legends of Tomorrow.
The Legends. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I haven't watched some of those in a long time.
I haven't watched them since they aired. I remember watching that. Well, we'll get there, I guess. So, but yeah, season 3 was when the Flash.
Season 3 was when the Flash premiered, and that was Ra's al Ghul.
Yes,
as the bad guy. And I remember watching the mid-season finale of that, where they they fight bare-chested sword fight on top of the mountain, and being like, this is like, bring it. This is Apex Batman as Green Arrow right here.
Your excitement for that was infectious for me and got me more excited.
Oh,
like I would not have been as excited if it wasn't for you being like, I remember you saying like, this is my favorite Ra's al Ghul ever. Like this
Matt Nable. He was excellent. I really liked him.
You met him, didn't you, at a con?
I did not meet Matt Nable.
Oh,
no.
I thought you had.
I've met a few of them over the years. Most of the Legends, actually, just by weird happenstance. Actually, let me see who I met. Robbie Amell, Firestorm.
Firestorm.
I met Caitlin Snow.
I didn't know you met Danielle Pennebaker.
I did. She's
That's cool.
very nice.
Nice.
I met Sierra. I met Hawk Girl and Hawk Man.
I remember that you met her at least.
Yep.
Because I remember you told her that you loved her in
Hunchback. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. She's excellent in that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, good memory on that.
Yeah.
I met Manu Bennett. I met Deathstroke.
That's who I'm thinking of. You met Manu Bennett. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's also super nice.
And he signed your pop doll.
Yes, he did. He signed my dolly.
He signed your dolly. Was that the same? Was it the same con that Azzarello said that to you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that was a different one. But because Manu was the first one that I was like, oh, I'll have someone sign a pop doll.
Okay.
He was the first one, but he was very nice. He signed 2 of them because I said you get to choose whichever one you like. Do you want to sign Azog the Defiler from The Hobbit, or do you want to sign Deathstroke? And he's like, oh, I'll sign both of them.
Well, that's nice.
Manu Bennett. Yeah,
that's super nice.
Yeah. He was very cool. But anyway, that was season 3. I remember people were not in on the season 3 because that's when you really start to get comic booky, because there's the Lazarus Pit,
yes,
and like all of this stuff.
Yeah, and that's when I came back. I think was right around then, because I was like, all right, this is stuff I can get into again. This is good. So then I think I caught back up and picked up the show again, and it's still. Yeah, it still didn't quite. I was watching it, but still sort of feeling like it was out of obligation to a degree.
Sure, because we're in that, like, if you don't watch the comic book things, they go away era.
Kinda, yeah. That scarcity, that Depression era scarcity of like it'll all go away. But also, like, at that point, then like when Flash started, I felt like, especially because I knew they were going to be, it looked like they were going to be crossing over every so often. I felt like I needed to at least know what was going on in Arrow, so that I could enjoy it more when they crossed over.
Yes. Yeah, I think. Do you think Arrow would have survived for as long as it did without branching into the greater comic universe?
I think that Arrow would have been a solid 5-season show max if there were not other spinoff shows. If there wasn't Flash, if there wasn't Legends, if there wasn't any of that, I think Arrow would have gone maybe 5 seasons. And that would probably be all the story they could tell without having more connections to the rest of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, they could just keep bringing in Deathstroke and other characters like that.
Yep.
For as long as they wanted, really, I guess. But I think that there was a momentum that was generated once the other shows started coming out that kept that machine going.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But season 4
was Damien Dark.
Damien Dark, right? Oh yeah, Damien Dark.
Yeah, who branched off into the Legends bad guy.
Right,
he branched off to the Legends bad guy.
And Legends started in season 4 of Arrow, right?
Legend,
I'm pretty sure.
Yes, Legend. If the Flash crossovered in 3, then Legends crossovered in 4.
And that's when we had like the Justice Society stuff, kind of.
Justice Society stuff. What do you mean?
The Hawks is really what I'm talking about. The Hawks.
Yeah,
I don't know why
they didn't really branch into Justice Society, though.
No, they didn't.
Because they had Vandal Savage.
Yeah.
And it was
right, Vandal Savage. I always think, I thought that was going to be the start of a Justice Society arc, and I've in my brain labeled it that, but that's not what it was. But it was the Hawks, and I remember watching that crossover at your house with Damon, who was not watching the shows at the time, but he was like, "Cool, I'll watch with you guys."
Classic Damon movie.
Yeah, he was like, "All right, whatever, okay."
I'm good to hang out.
I think we recorded a Beer with Geeks, and then we watched the crossover.
That's right. Oh man, that's right. So then I don't remember much else about season 4 apart from the crossover in Damien Dark, and I feel like that's probably the way to go with many of these seasons after 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I think so too.
Where you start to go, I don't really remember what's happening anymore. And that's definitely true. 5 was Prometheus. Which was Prometheus was that was a season where I was good.
That was a good villain. You know what? I remember at the time feeling like that was very drawn out, and that I was sort of like, let's get on with it. But in retrospect, what they did do with it was very good. That was a good villain.
Yeah, I think. Well, season 5, I remember was like Arrow was like, okay, we've gotten big comic book stuff for them at that moment, and so they had to backlog back into something else, to what they used to be, because you had the Dark Archer, you had Deathstroke. It's quote unquote grounded,
right?
And then all of a sudden you have the Immortal, the immortal Ra's al Ghul, and then you have the wizard Damien Dark or whatever you want to call him. And so it got a little like, because Constantine came in Arrow season 4.
Yes. Because that's when that was on
Sarah
NBC.
Gave Sarah Lance back her soul.
Right.
Yeah, right. I think that was that. Because that was on NBC. And yeah, Arrow is, my gosh, it's gone a long way to help people with their careers.
It really
anything else.
It really has. So we had the story where they couldn't stop like the nuke from going off. Was that in the Damien Dark season or the Prometheus season?
That was good question.
I think it was the Damien Dark season.
I think that was Damien Dark. That those two things ring together.
Yeah,
because Prometheus was more about destroying Oliver Queen, not so much destroying Star City.
Yes.
Yeah, remember when it used to be called Starling City?
Starling City, which I always found I found it annoying. I actually found it annoying. I was like, what a dumb name, Starling. Because really, all that was they didn't. I really feel like they just wanted to give it they just wanted to be different than the comic book. Like for no reason, for no real reason other than like comic booky stuff is lame. Like this was in the same, not the same time period, but the same line of thinking of like the X-Men need like matching uniforms.
Yes, that's exactly right. And there was something about like they didn't think Star City sounded like the name of a real city. And so, which I mean, it doesn't, but
Starling, I feel like is
Starling
worse.
City. Yeah, Starling is kind of worse.
They should have just owned Star City and kept it. And now I'm glad that they came around to it eventually. I'm actually very glad they did that. But
that's right. Yeah, they rebranded the city name to like Start Anew or something like that.
Yeah, because like after what happened after like the attack on the Glades or whatever, they were like, we're rebuilding, we're new, and to show that we're changing the name of our city because that's how that works. Yep. And
can you imagine if one day they were like, New York City, we're not called New York City anymore.
We're just called York City.
We're just NYC.
Yeah.
We're
not Boston, we're Bost.
Or Bost. Oh my God. Hey, you over there, buy a Hyundai. That's what we're called now.
Speaking of Boston, that is the city that stands in for
yes, it is
Starling and later Star City.
That's right.
So I love seeing all the different like establishing shots and stuff and being like, I know where that is. And
the clock tower. I live near there.
I used to live right there. And just today, I was watching the finale just today as we record this. And earlier today, I had a meeting in a building where like there was a view identical to something that like a view of downtown that was identical to.
Oh, that's cool.
The at the end of the finale, when Oliver and Felicity finally get reunited, like in heaven or whatever.
Yes.
It turns out that heaven is an office building in Boston, in downtown Boston, and apparently I was like in that building today. Because like the building they showed doesn't exist, but like I was standing like whatever building is actually in that spot.
Yep,
I was in it today and
That's
saw
cool.
the view that like they were looking at out that window.
That's cool.
So that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. You were in heaven. You were in Spectre heaven.
I was in Spectre Monitor heaven.
That's
apparently.
right. Season 3 was also Ray Palmer. The introduction of Brandon Routh as Ray Palmer.
Yes, which I loved. I loved the like flirtation between him and Felicity. I really was into that.
Yeah, really strong. He became such a different character when he like went on to Legends. He was really this like brash, full of himself, like whippersnapper, I guess. But yeah, he really went in a slightly different. They went in a different direction with him for Legends, and both I think are honest and true and work for his portrayal of the character. But he was able to fit both molds of both types of shows, and I liked that. He was supposed to be Ted Cord originally.
Yes, there were a lot of Cord Industries references in the early couple seasons.
In the first 2 seasons, a lot of Cord Industries. Palmer Tech is like nowhere, and then they were ready to do Blue Beetle, like that was going to be their thing, and I think that's when when WB was trying to do a Booster Gold television show or a Blue and Gold movie.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And they were like, "No, you can't use them because we're probably going to make a movie one day."
Wow.
So they were like, "Fine, we'll use the Atom instead." And I mean, that ended up working out for them really like strongly.
Oh yeah.
But it was supposed to be Blue Beetle, which would have been fun in its own way because like you would have had these two like Batman avatars. I guess like the two different sides, like the dark vigilante and the heavy tech gadget guy, playing off of one another. That would have been fun.
That would have been one of them being played by a former Superman.
One of them being played by a former Superman.
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Yeah.
What a world.
Crazy.
And then season 6 and 7 was Diaz, Richard Dragon, right? Like who he's supposed to be. And that's where I think 6 and 7 were like really forgettable. Like I just couldn't care.
Did not care. Did not powered through, but like I would let those episodes pile up to like 4, 5, 6 of them and then binge through them like half paying attention. Just because like I wanted to stay current, but I did not really. It wasn't keeping me. Meanwhile, I'm like religiously watching The Flash and obviously Supergirl eventually when that started. But Arrow was just sort of like, I mean, yeah, I'll catch up when crossover week comes up. But like before that, I'm just sort of like, whatever. I didn't really care at that time. And then when Diaz spanned from 6 into 7, I was like, more. You thought what we needed was more Diaz? Okay.
I know. That's what I thought was crazy. I was like, that's not what I wanted. But I give them credit for really listening to their original core fan base that was saying, stop with the magic, stop with the this.
True.
Like that's not why we watched the show. If we wanted that, we'd go watch Legends or we'd go watch Supergirl or Flash or whatever. You don't watch The Flash and go, where's my gritty realism?
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And so I give them credit for like trying to branch Arrow into different avenues, and it didn't play, so they had to kind of go back. But what's tough about Arrow, the Green Arrow, the character, is that he doesn't have a great rogues gallery.
Right.
And so like if you like he had Merlin, and then after that, everybody else in there they either used as one-offs where they could have used more. Like Vertigo is a great example of like
sure.
Like if they Count Vertigo is weird, so we made him a drug and it's called Vertigo. And also there's this other gangland guy called Vertigo. And, they went for these like mini arcs with some of these smaller characters, but Prometheus isn't traditionally a Green Arrow villain, although he does meet his end by Green Arrow in the comics. And, Deathstroke's not a Green Arrow villain. Deathstroke's a Teen Titans villain, really.
Yeah.
That's become an everybody villain.
Ra's al Ghul is definitely not a Green Arrow villain.
Ra's al Ghul, that was just a Batman story that they put Green Arrow in instead.
And like Green Arrow has always been an avatar for Batman, as you referenced it earlier. But like it was always like just, I mean, honestly, in the early 40s, it was just a ripoff of Batman. It was like, he's got an arrow cave and an arrowmobile and
an arrow jet.
It's just take the word bat and do a find and replace with arrow and you're good.
Yep, pretty much. That's why it never really, maybe that's why it never really bothered me that people were like, oh, they're just trying to be Batman. I'm like, well, that's what Green Arrow was.
He's been that for 75 years. Like that's what he is.
Green Arrow's been a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and I enjoyed this version of him. And I think Stephen Amell brought a real gravitas to that role, kind of like a Downey Jr. in a way that like let me help everybody. I want to shepherd everybody into this world.
He always talked about the role. I listened to him. He's done Michael Rosenbaum's podcast a couple of times now.
Yep.
And he really carried the responsibility. He took it as a responsibility of like, I'm the title character of this show. I'm the lead. I'm like top of the call sheet. And people like I set the tone. And there he took it very, very seriously of like, it's like, I set the tone for the rest of the cast, for the crew, for the guest stars, like whatever. This show is going to be whatever sort of I make it to be. Like, not that he created the show or anything, but he has a lot of pull and a lot of sway in how people treat it when they're on set. And he took that very seriously, and he cared a lot about the fans, and he cared a lot about just like making it a good show and telling good stories and bringing what he could, like bringing the best that he could. To the point where it sounds like he might have been a little annoying to work with at times, but like annoying to work with because he wanted it to make the best show he could make, which sometimes is like, all right, like he maybe was more invested than some of the people around him, but I admire his commitment. Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah. Even his encyclopedic knowledge of the show where they're like, oh, you can't do this in this scene because in season 3, episode 16, we said and did this.
Right.
And so,
because he read every script, not just his lines, but he read the full scripts because he felt like he owed it to everybody to like have that knowledge of the show like front to back.
You're talking a very smart man, really. More like to keep all of that logged in your brain with everything else you have to do.
Yeah,
that's a very smart, committed man. I give him a lot of credit.
very smart and hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
A lot of credit.
Yeah.
A lot of credit. We talked about all the. Do you have a favorite villain out of that season, or like in the bunch, or like if you had to pick some of them?
I actually like Merlin a good bit before he was sort of played out,
Mhm.
and I like Rachel Gould a lot too.
Yeah, I think those are my Merlin, Deathstroke, and Raish are kind of they mix somewhere in the bag right there. What about the supporting cast? We haven't talked about them, but your Felicities, your Diggles, your Roy Harpers, your Laurels.
I love Felicity. I love Diggle. And for different reasons. I always loved Felicity. I didn't really. I don't want this to sound like a definitive statement. I didn't really care one way or the other whether they got together. Once it was clear they were kind of putting the two of them together, I liked it. Like I've always I liked them, but like I wasn't like pulling for it from the start. Like
Sure.
Some people were like day one Felicity. Like I want these two to end up together. I didn't feel that from the start, but once they went down that path, I was happy with it.
Yep.
And Diggle, I love the brother relationship the two of them that Ollie and Diggle had.
I agree.
All the way to the finale, where after Oliver's gone, Diggle still has that sense of duty to his brother.
I agree. I think that the show did a lot of things well, but I think what it really did well was this almost, I guess, this brother relationship between Diggle and Ollie, but like it was almost like what I wanted Anakin and Obi-Wan to be.
Oh,
if that makes sense.
Kinda, yeah.
Like there's this like push. There's always this push-pull on them where they don't always agree. Their ideologies are a little different, but at the end they are family.
They respect
are brothers.
each other
They
and
respect
love each other.
And they will always have each other's backs. That's kind of like the relationship that I had with them.
Yeah. They would challenge each other and they would call each other out on their BS, but always from a place of like caring and respect, and ultimately love at the end. Towards the end, especially like the deeper we get into the show. At the beginning, obviously, it's less intimate than that, but towards the end, it really is like these two dudes who've been through war together and love each other, and they're like army buddies.
Exactly. And so I think Diggle kind of ranks as like my favorite supporting player. Sarah Lance, I think, is right up there.
Oh, Sarah, yeah, Sarah's great. Yeah, I mean, so
I love
she
Sarah.
spun off and became the lead of a different show.
Right, exactly. Like props to Katie Lotz. And,
for real.
And I have a special place in my heart for Captain Lance. I think like Paul Blackthorne, I think that's his name, was just a tremendous presence. Like every time he was there, and even though his story arc didn't always like play out well,
agreed,
he was always good.
He was always good, and his character grew on me over the years. At first, I was sort of like whatever, but like he did grow on me. And by the end, he was like a crucial part of when he found out Oliver's secret identity. I wasn't sure about that, and like there were a lot of things. There was a lot of that actually for me of like another person knowing the identity. Come on, here we go. But it almost always, I really struggle to think of a time that it didn't pay off in some way.
Yep.
That it didn't make it work. Even if I didn't agree with it at the time, it always worked. Always worked out. I was really struck by how many people how like everybody came back for the finale.
Literally everybody.
It was like there was nobody that they couldn't get.
Yeah, and the people they couldn't, they didn't need to get, they figured out a way to do it differently. So that Manu Bennett scene where Oliver stops like the death of his mom, like that was pre-filmed years ago. And they were able to retool that for their own use. But it's like everybody came home for this fun reunion.
Right. Like that scene where Felicity comes into the bunker and like everyone is there. I mean everyone. That was I felt some feelings in that finale, Tim.
Yeah, I did too.
I felt some feelings. I felt when she walked in and saw all that, I felt some feelings. And she like got behind the computer again. Like that was kind of special. I really felt some feelings when she, like, quote unquote, met Mia at the funeral.
Yeah.
When Felicity met adult Mia. That got me in the feels.
Yep. I think Barry and Kara showing up at the funeral that really got me in the feels, because like they're like, I mean, and Sarah was there too, obviously, but she kind of started she really started.
She comes from the show, so it's
But she was like, like that, like they all are. They're here because of him, And even though Kara like was on CBS, Supergirl was on CBS,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever else like that, it's still because of the show.
It absolutely
And it's
is.
like the actors are almost like paying respects to the show in the way the characters were paying respect to the character. It's like it was
I
it
know.
just like really felt
You know, I had seen. It's been a few days since the finale aired, and I'm watching it a few days later. But I had seen like memes and stuff about Barry showing up, and I figured he would show up. But I hadn't really seen Kara in any of those memes, and I'm still not adjusted to the fact that she's on this earth now. So
sure.
I was almost surprised to see her there because I'm like not fully expecting her to be on this. You know what I mean? I know
makes
she's
sense.
here, but my brain isn't used to it. I'm used to, oh, sure, of course Barry's there. He's on the same earth. But then when I saw Kara, I was like, oh, of course she's there. She's on the same earth now too. Like, it just that was nice too.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was strange that Iris wasn't there. That was the only one
True.
that I thought was strange, just because I'm like, you got married at the same time.
True.
That Barry and Iris and Felicity and Ollie got married, and like you're not at the funeral.
It's
like
true.
that was like it was almost like Chewie not hugging Leia in Force Awakens.
yeah,
I was just kind of
yeah.
like, what a weird absence. That's so strange. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Why would Barry go to the funeral alone? I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one omission that I was like, oh, weird.
Good call. Good
Yeah,
call.
but anyway,
I didn't. Yeah.
but anyway,
And then the final scene where Oliver and Felicity are reunited. That also got me in the feels too.
Inspector Heaven. Yeah.
In Inspector Heaven, in Monitor Heaven.
Yeah. So here's the question, I guess in the larger context, the Monitor, I mean, because they reused the same footage from last season. I guess that means when Oliver remade the universe, the multiverse, in his last moments as the Spectre and all of this stuff, I guess that means he also brought the Monitor back to life, right?
I guess
at this moment
we saw him, so he's still around.
Because he brought back all these people in his life that like he thought deserved a life, right? He brings back his mom, he brings back Tommy, like
Sure.
all of this. Captain Lance, like he brings back all of these people that deserved more than what he could give them, and like died because of his actions, and so they're able to live where he did not. It's a really nice like sacrificial offering kind of thing that he does. I really liked it.
I loved Laurel questioning like why her Earth One doppelganger didn't come back, and Mayor Lance,
Yep.
I guess being like, because there was nothing, you didn't need to be fixed, like you were good the way you were. Like I loved that little moment of
Me too.
him basically saying like, no, you are my daughter.
Yeah, that got me too. Yeah,
that was a nice
actually.
moment.
That was nice. Yeah, that was good. And sitting outside the show, because she's a more interesting character than regular Laurel, I think the direction they took Laurel was it was just okay in the first couple of seasons, and so it was actually Black Siren that became a more interesting dynamic with the group. So yeah, we'll see. What did you think of the backdoor Green Arrow and the Black Canaries pilot?
I think that would be a very interesting show.
Yeah, I was more interested in that show, in that episode, than I was in all of the future episodes leading up to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where I watched that, I was like, now I'm on board. Now for some reason I'm interested.
Yeah, I would like that show. I would like that show. Here's the thing. I like the three of them very much. Like I like all three of them as actors and as characters.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. They have a great dynamic.
They do. They have really good chemistry, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think Catherine McNamara is like she just like appeared on the scene like fully formed as this character, and has been kicking ass as Mia,
she really
like
has.
since she appeared. Like it's unbelievable. Like I don't think I've ever felt that like compelled by a character that quickly, like that bought in as quickly as I have been with her. And I am like the last person I expect to hear myself saying that. But I really, really like I honestly don't. I'm not the biggest fan of like the Green Arrow sort of universe of characters, what few characters there are in that little sphere. And yet it's this sphere that I'm like instantly I'm sold on. I'm talking back in season 7 when she first appeared, like that. I'm just like, yeah, totally. Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Love this character. This is great.
She has as an actress an amazing presence on camera in a
And
way
she's
that
like
kind
23, 24. She's like very young, but like has this confidence
she's a
and
baby.
self-assuredness.
Yeah. She's got a she almost has like a Stephen Amell presence, like you show up and you're like, who's that?
Yeah.
Like more of that, please.
Yeah. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that would be I hope that something happens there, because I think that'd be a very good show.
Yeah, I agree. I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope so too. It had very good ratings, whereas the finale of the show did not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it had less than 1 million live viewers, I think. But I mean, that's very typical of the CW.
It is surprising though, for a series finale for a show that had such a vocal online fandom. It is surprising that not that many people turned out to watch it live. But I guess we'll see what the Live Plus 7 looks like and all that.
Yeah,
but
maybe people were confused at the breakdown of the.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a little confusing, so that wouldn't surprise me. What did you think of Diggle? And so, first he mentions that he and Lila and the kids are moving to Metropolis.
Yep, caught that.
And I don't know if you know this, Tim, but there is a television program slated to take place in Metropolis coming up pretty soon.
What is it about? Lex Luthor and Lois Lane solving crimes?
No, not quite. It's called Superman and Lois. And so I mean, I don't know what David Ramsey's contract looks like or anything, but like I think he's going to be, and he and Lila are both going to be showing up in that show. And then he found a special piece of hardware that landed on Earth.
Indeed. Or did it find him, Frank?
I thought when he went into that crater, I was like, I want to see Abin Sur. I want to see Abin Sur. I want to see Abin. Oh, the ring is fine too. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even really see Green Lantern.
You don't.
You see a little box.
You just see a little glasses case, and he opens it up, and it shines green in his face, and you're like, oh, green glasses. Okay.
Hilarious. Green. That famous hero. Green glasses.
I'm the green glasses.
Glasses. Like, you seem rather hipster. It's like you're cool in a different way. So, I like the alliteration, but I feel like you're taking a step backwards. I mean, the show's been kind of like moving in that direction for such a long time. It's so funny because it came out of nowhere. Diggle was a made-up character, and people one day were like, he's basically Jon Stewart. Like, you did a great job at making a non-Jon Stewart Jon Stewart. And then they were like, yeah, well, also, but his stepdad's last name is Stewart. So technically he's John Diggle Stewart, but he doesn't have a great relationship with his dad, so he doesn't really use that name. And you're like, oh, interesting.
That's a good retcon.
That was a good, that was a great retcon. Yeah, nice job, team. Good job.
And then last year during Elseworlds, where
the Flash,
Earth 90 Flash was like, John, where's your ring? Okay, we get it, guys.
It's different on this Earth.
I thought that would pay off.
Would have been good with that. Yeah.
I would have been good with that, but I thought that would pay off in Crisis. I thought there'd be something that would happen, like we would see Earth 267 where Diggle is the Green Lantern. Like I thought we might see that come in.
Oh, sure.
In Crisis. But I guess they're going to pay it off in arguably a bigger way if he's going to Superman and Lois, and maybe he's a supporting character, or maybe he learns how to use the ring.
Maybe. It was such an interesting because all of these shows have their super teams, right? So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that a Green Lantern would be a supporting player in a Superman show, especially if you're trying to make it if you're trying to diverge from Supergirl, because now you have two members of the super family with their own television shows. The Martian Manhunter, the space character, plays a big part on Supergirl. Then what if Green Lantern, the space character, plays a big part on Superman and Lois? It's not a huge. And what if Superman and Lois really what if a lot of their adventures are in space, which is something that's also different from Supergirl.
Yeah.
What if she's protecting the planet while he's out there like on a space? Like, because remember the script, they say, oh, it's very different, Superman and Lois and whatever. So what if they're actually not in Metropolis at all?
I think that'd be very interesting. And honestly, the comparison you're drawing with Martian Manhunter is a good one. That I hadn't thought about it that way. That's cool. I like that as an idea. Yeah. I would also kind of, and I know they won't do this, but I would like it if like Diggle and Lila were supporting characters for season 1 of this show, while Diggle learns how to use the ring and learns about the Guardians of the universe and all that stuff. and then it spins off into a Green Lantern show. I know they won't do that on the CW. I know,
but there's already Green Lantern show coming for HBO Max.
HBO Max, but I don't think it's going to be with him. I don't
think so either. Yeah,
I do hope I really do hope they would do a Jon Stewart one, because I think that we don't need another Hal or another Kyle. Frankly, I mean Kyle hasn't been as overdone, but I would really like.
Kyle's shown up like once on Superman the Animated Series. So
I would really like to see. I would really like to see Jon Stewart be the Green Lantern, be like the Green Lantern of record again.
Yeah, I would like that too. I wouldn't even mind what they've been trying to do for a movie for so long, and they do like Hal and Jon Stewart.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I'd be fine for that too, because I mean, you don't want to dish your Hal fans, And
I am a Hal fan, and I am a Hal fan. Hal is probably my favorite Green Lantern, but I want to see. I did grow up with Jon Stewart in a big way, and I really want to see that character done right.
I agree. Me too. In live action, certainly.
Live action.
And I think that David Ramsey is kind of the person to do it.
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, it's built that way already. So, but I think there is something with Superman and Lois, and like I just don't think that you drop. Oh, we're moving to Metropolis.
No, it's that's a choice. That is a choice. Mm-hmm. You don't drop that and then have a tease of him becoming a superhero and then leave it at that. Like there's going to be more.
Yeah, I think so too. And so I think because there's an HBO Max show coming, and they said it's not connected to the Arrowverse, I think that's where where I start to go, I have no idea what's going to happen.
That's it. I don't really know where they're going to go, but I'm excited for it either way. I mean, I'm excited. Like, we got a Green Lantern ring tease, like that's pretty freaking cool. So,
or maybe WB finally got smart and they realized that it doesn't matter if you have characters on conflicting properties.
You just did a multiverse 5-episode special. Like anything can happen. You can do whatever you want.
It doesn't matter.
Ezra Miller's on a different Earth. It's fine.
Right. So if Jon Stewart's over there and Hal's on that TV show with
all good.
Somebody, like go for it. Who cares?
It's all good.
Yep, it's all good. Yeah. So I think Arrow deserves the praise that it gets, which just for building an entire TV universe. And, and of course, all the people, countless people who also make that happen. But, for good for like Mark Guggenheim and Greg Berlanti for just like having the foresight and the openness and the willingness to like make this happen and to share the wealth and to work extra hard at combining all of these things together, because it is a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Arrow didn't always rise above its station, he really did a good job for the majority of the time that it was on the air, like a really good time. And even just the countless like fight scenes and action sequences, and I just like that's a lot of work. And they looked really, and there was a distinct style to them all the time, and the costumes were good. Arrow really went through a transformative process, and and I think. Yeah, and they learned a lot from like he's the Hood and he's like a spray paint mask, and then by the end he's like he's full-fledged Green Arrow, and then he becomes the Spectre. I still can't get over that.
I know, man.
It's the Spectre, the Wrath of God.
It's amazing. It happened.
Yeah, it happened
on television.
Yeah, I saw it happen. Don't tell me
I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
Yeah. I even watched it happen. Anyway, yeah, great. Frank, do you have any final thoughts on Arrow?
Final thought, in the finale, this show always made great use of flashbacks. Well, it always made use of flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't always care for the flashbacks. When he was like, now I'm in China, and now I'm in Russia, and now I'm in, like, oh my God, how many iterations till you get home?
Russia. I forgot about Russia. Russia was great.
That aside, in the finale, they used the flashbacks to be flashbacks to Oliver, like to Diggle flashing back to his conversation with Oliver, which I thought was a great little use of that storytelling mechanism that they used throughout 8 seasons. I thought that was a brilliant little way of using that device.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. That it's his closest friend flashing
back to him. Like in seasons 7 and 8, we flashed forward to the 2040s with his kids, but in the very finale, the series finale, we flash back to them, or really Diggle, remembering Oliver and the lessons he learned from Oliver.
Right. And I actually it's both ways, even the lessons, because it's not even just the lessons that John learned from Oliver, but that Oliver learned to stop killing from John.
Right.
And that key decision is what brings everyone to this present day.
Yes.
Where everyone is here. It all hinges upon his decision not to kill John Byrne, comic book creator. John Byrne.
Okay, was that character, that was clearly a flashback to like season 1, but like was that character named in season 1?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
because like they were clearly going back to the season 1 time period, but I was like, did I just forget that they had a character named John Byrne in season 1? Okay, good. Thank you for setting me straight there, because I was very fascinated by that. But anyway, all that to say, I was up and down on the series as a whole, but particularly on that flashback device. Sometimes I liked it, sometimes I hated it, and sometimes I could have just done without it altogether. And that, and in the series finale, is kind of what ties all of this stuff together, and kind of it was used in a very impactful and meaningful way. And I tip my hat to them for doing that. So
yeah.
8 years, well done. It wasn't always perfect, but then again, what is? It was a wild ride. It was an enjoyable ride. It started this whole universe that will carry on long after the show is gone, and we certainly had a lot of fun.
We even owe a debt of gratitude to Arrow, because we do Supergirl TV Talk, and like that doesn't happen without Arrow.
100%.
Supergirl doesn't happen without Arrow, so ergo we don't happen in that way without Arrow. So yeah. What a ride.
We've had a lot of fun times because of this show. Even when we weren't watching this particular show, a lot of the fun times we had were because this show existed. So
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, good stuff. Well, Frank, where can the people find us?
Well, they can find us at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. That is the home for this network of lovely little podcasts that we like to call home. You can find shows like Academy Rewind and Loud Women and Hate Watch with us, and a whole host of fantastic podcasts over at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can also find us at beerwithgeeks.com. That's the home for this show on the internet, and where you can find all of our episodes. You can search for every Arrow episode we've ever done there and listen to them to your heart's content. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere that podcasts are found. You can find this one. Please rate and review us in those places. That means a whole lot to us and helps us get discovered, helps new people find the show, so please do that. You can contact us. You can send us your thoughts, your feedback at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com or at beerwithgeeks on Twitter. Those places to contact us. You can follow me on Twitter at Frank Ramblings and Tim at TimothyPG13. And those are the best places to find us on this here interwebs, my friend.
That's good stuff. I will find you in all those places, even though I already know about all of them.
Sounds threatening, but okay.
Indeed. Yes, don't threaten me with a good time, Frank. Yeah, I'll find you. I will find him. Yeah, good. Anyway, Frank, until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I wish I could remember what the little cheers thing that he says in Russian every time is. I'm not gonna remember it.
Brooks, Brex, Brokovich,
Aaron Brockovich.
I wish I was still recording.
I was.
Shoot. Well, you could take the double.
I might just take the Skype audio for that one.
Brokovich.
That's right. Za zdrowie.
Yeah. Anastasia.
You said that like a Romanov.
I mean,
all right.
All right.